Hello, everyone. I am here to talk about the Big Five at Eurovision. These are the five countries that automatically qualify for the grand final, which will be this coming May in Turin. The Eurovision Song Contest, for those who are not familiar, has a grand final that has five entries, plus the host country, which in this case is Italy, which is one of the five. The big five countries being Italy, the UK, Germany, Spain, and France. They're the countries that have been in the contest for a long time. They put the most money into it. They just get special treatment for that. Now, I disagree with their status. I think that all countries should be treated equal. And I think it allows them to be a little more lazy. It's just not really, a lot of these countries, one or two in particular, have been really disappointing year after year after year. And only really one of these countries has been, I think, really stepping up to the plate. And we're going to talk about this. Obviously, Italy won last year, so that's sort of a spoiler there. But yes, so I've already talked about the entries that are going to be competing in semifinal 1 and semifinal 2. Those videos will be linked in the description. I also have a video where I rank all 40 songs for this contest, but there's no commentary on my part. But I do want to make, and probably a bit briefer of a video here, because there's only 5 songs, and some of them I don't have as much to say about. But we do need to just go through and talk about, in order from my least favorite to most favorite, what these 5 songs are bringing us, what these 5 countries are bringing to the table. Because unfortunately, it's often not a lot, except for maybe one country, maybe 2. Because a bunch of these have been slouching and slacking off, and it's just maybe if they were forced to compete in the qualifiers, they'd try a little bit more. I do think it's a running kind of, it's known that Sweden is almost a big 5 as well, because they're like the 6th honorary member, because they have pretty much always qualified for Eurovision. I haven't checked the stats, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the last 10 years they have always qualified. They probably have some of the best qualification track records. So Sweden's like a guarantee for the final as well, because they seem to really take this seriously. I don't argue they always send the best stuff, but they send things that people like, or I don't know, there's just always going to be room for Sweden in the final. But Sweden, I've already talked about. Let's start with my least favorite of these 5 entries. My least favorite of the big 5 we have here for Eurovision 2022 is going to go to Germany. This is a very easy bottom 5 entry for me. This is definitely the worst of the big 5 that we are being given. In my ranking video, I had this song at like spot 38 or 39. I had it really low. Malik Harris with his song Rockstars. This song is very safe, in my opinion, okay? Some people may disagree. Some people may disagree. I've already seen some people not call this song safe. That doesn't necessarily mean they like it. But I think that this song is very safe. In a year where we are getting a lot of male, evocative, emotional ballads, this isn't really a ballad, even though it straddles that. It wants to rise to the occasion, but also be soft and emotional. This is a song that is at once a pop anthem, but also a hip-hop song, because there's a rap breakdown, particularly in the bridge. There's a lot of rap in here. So it's a versatile song for that. It sort of wakes you up a little bit from the sleepiness of the melody and the song, because I am not feeling any of the energy with this song. The lyrics are very dime a dozen, very derivative, singing about nostalgia and the bygone era of maybe his like being a teenager, or I don't know if he's singing about further back, in terms of just generations before us having a better, pop culture, or better, way of expressing themselves through music, or being more free to do whatever they wanted through art. And instead sort of, implying that, today there's just not as much freedom there, which I could maybe get down with the idea behind, but he is not selling this at all. Now, I have not personally seen a live performance of Malik perform this song, but I'm going to need a lot from this if I'm going to think any differently about this qualifying. Luckily, I do see a lot of people saying this song is probably also the worst of the big 5. Germany is really not doing any favors for itself. Everyone talks about the UK, But Germany has been consistently, for the last several years, very low quality. And they definitely are not taking this contest seriously. They received 0 points last year, and I felt it was wholly deserved. I also believe in 2019 they either received 0 points or like 1 or 2 points. I did not like their song that year either. In 2018, they had a song that did pretty well, but I didn't like the song. It did make it into the top 10. I just disagreed, but it was what it was. It was like an Ed Sheeran knockoff. And then, going back, they've been a little all over the place, but they haven't obviously gotten a lot of great results in recent years. So it's unfortunate because in 2020 they were going to be sending Violent Thing by Ben Dolich, and that was the year that I actually was somewhat rooting for Germany. In the more recent 5 years that I've been following Eurovision, remember, I haven't really been following Eurovision with, I know, every other country entry since like 2017. I should know more about Eurovision history. I do know some songs. I just don't know all of them from like 2018, 2017 prior. So forgive me there. I know that they won in 2010 with Satellites, which I thought was a great song. But, other than that, I don't know what Germany's really sent. Besides Cascada, I know they sent Cascada in 2013, which I love the group, love Cascada, absolutely love them. Don't really love the song, but I still think it's competent for Eurovision. It's like a basic, uplifting synth dance pop number that Cascada is going to do well with. So I still was fine with it. But anyway, that being said, yeah, Germany, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, but this certainly ain't it. And Germany is definitely, last year they sent a joke entry. This year they're trying to take themselves seriously, but it's not, there's no feeling behind this song for me. It feels very phoned in. It feels as though, at least in the studio cut we're seeing in the music video, I'm not really feeling the expression of the lyrics because it seems like, he's putting all of it into the emotion. He should be putting all of it into the emotion, but it seems like he's just tepid. There's unlocked potential there. This is also a nitpicky critique, but instead of saying fast, he sounds like he says farst. When time is moving so fast, he says it like when time is moving so farst. I'm like, is that a German pronunciation thing? I don't know. If it is, I'll forgive it. But otherwise, why are we pronouncing fast with that R sound? It always sticks out and bugs me. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. This is just not my cup of tea. Not really feeling it. It's very, very bathroom break for me. When it comes on in the playlist, I want to skip it. Okay, so out of the big five this year, it is a little bit more exciting because usually there's like several entries that I say are in the bottom. But out of the big five, there's really only one entry that is disappointing to me, and that is Germany's. The other four countries, they're all bringing something fairly competent. And, they are all much, much, much higher in my ranking. So keep in mind, even though I have this song in fourth place, please do not take that as saying it's in the low end of my ranking, because there's a huge jump in quality between Germany's entry and the country I'm about to talk about, which is going to be Spain. Some people might be a little bit mad that this song is fourth out of the big five, but remember, big jump in quality. Chanel Terrero with Slow Mo. This song is definitely not in slow motion, okay? It's anything but. This song is fast on its feet. It is, a whirlwind of Jennifer Lopez with somewhat Camila Cabello vocals that are a little less belty, but that's okay. And it is everything you'd want from a J-Lo, Latin synth banger. And it was made for the gays. It was made to serve choreography, to serve, hairography, stilettoography, like everything on stage. The music video emphasizes this. The one thing I will say is that sometimes at Eurovision, these songs can really fall flat for me because I'm, not the biggest fan of just going balls to the wall with Euro dance pop girl group stuff or boy band stuff, because sometimes it can be just really overproduced and all over the place. Think of Hurricane, the Serbian girl group from the last few years with Serbia. I was not a fan of what they were doing sonically because the song was produced to a level that was almost unlistenable. The rhythms were all over the place. There wasn't an actual catchy hook. it was all being very forced. It was like, a computer generated amalgamation of a pop song. But thankfully, slow mo, emphasizes, we don't need to throw everything into the mix here. We just need some great rhythmic drums, some bass movement. We just need, lighter instrumentation around her fast paced vocals. And so I appreciate that this song, it's got more of the fuego kind of energy of just a really polished, well produced, upbeat Latin dance song. And I think it'll do really well at Eurovision. It's made to please, especially for the gays, which is what Eurovision is for mostly. The older generation won't like it, but Spain could do really well. I don't think, if anything, sometimes we have to remember that the older generation doesn't have as huge a sway over Eurovision as some people might think. It used to be maybe in the past that way, but I think today it's changing. So yeah, I think there's a spot in her for her in the top 5 of this competition. Do I necessarily want it to win this year? Not exactly, just because I'm kind of looking to Eurovision for something a little more artistic, maybe a little more meaningful. This song is just about sex, and I get it. Still wouldn't it wouldn't displease me if it won. It really wouldn't, because it's fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing it on the stage. But the part of me that's a little more artsy fartsy is a little bit like, we've seen a lot of this. So those are my thoughts on Chanel. Honestly, I don't have much else to say. I think she's going to do really well, and I mean, what else can I say? The next song I'm going to be talking about is from the United Kingdom. It is so surprising to me that the United Kingdom is not at the bottom, because Germany and UK are tying for being the worst entries, well, in terms of Eurovision scoring. I would disagree that the UK actually deserves that place in certain years. Some years it did. Like last year, that song, Embers, was it? I'm trying to knock it out of my memory. The James Newman song. If you followed me last year on the Eurovision Song Contest, you knew that I hated that song with a passion. I hated Embers. It was just the most cringe, very low effort, rip off, top 40 derivative thing you could imagine. And so I was very unempathized with that one. James Newman was not the right singer for that type of song anyway. The presentation, the styling, everything was off. But I was a big fan of Michael Rice and Sue Ree, and people hated them for whatever reason. So, I don't know. That was weird to me, especially with Michael Rice. I didn't quite understand it, but it is what it is. So with that, well, they didn't hate them. They hated the song. I mean, look, I get that, but I still thought there were way worse songs in those years. So anyway, they didn't deserve the bottoms. But with this being said, this year we have Sam Ryder. He's this sort of long-haired Viking-looking guy. And the music video, which we have for Spaceman. This song is best, I think, described as a Elton John-esque ballad that launches up into the stars. We've got some really competent vocals on our hands here. Now, I don't personally think that this is terribly different from a Michael Rice entry. People are acting like this is so much more current, or so much more what the UK should be sending, and I'm like, okay, it's still not that edgy. Okay, I don't know what we're missing here. This is very predictable and almost safe, though I wouldn't call it as safe as Germany's entry. But if you look at the lyrical content, it's not saying anything that extraordinary. I'm hesitant to call this song groundbreaking or anything. I do think that, if anything, it's just going to stay in people's memories a lot stronger than certainly any of the James Newman songs would have. But, that being said, this song does not deserve bottom place. I don't even think it deserves bottom 5. I would see it in the top 15, possibly even in the top 10 at the end of the contest at the scoreboard. That's my feeling. I think that I ought to see him in the chair, in the late night chair, levitating on the stage. We've obviously got to get the wind machines on his hair, because, come on. I mean, if you're doing that in the visual for the music video, you're going to have to be doing that on stage. And if we have him sort of semi-floating around, flying in the air in that chair with the visuals of space around him, that's how you're going to sell this, right? And I mean, it's how I would do it. give it a little bit more of a ambiance of story around it instead of just having him at a microphone. Because I mean, this has to have a little bit more of a bigger picture around it. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, and I do think his vocals are going to be top notch. So I'm ready for Sam to kill it, and for the UK to do a lot better than it has in recent history. But who knows? Some people still think there's political leanings. I'm like, not really, not really. It is a lot of just BBC not really taking it seriously, people in the UK not taking the contest seriously, not wanting to be a part of it. That rubs off on everyone else the wrong way. And it's also just, I mean, it shows in their entries. But again, last year I agreed they deserved the bottom. Other years, not so much. So this year they should be safe. Okay, so it's really hard with the other two entries. I was debating on which one I would put above the other, and honestly, this was sort of a last-minute switch for me. But I am going to knock Italy down to second place. Italy is the host country this year, and so usually the host country, there's a lot of expectation, but also the sort of idea that they're not going to win again, because the days of Eurovision being won by the same country in a row hasn't happened this century. That's like 20th century history. Like, it's not been since the 90s that a country has won 2 years in a row, let alone even every other year. I mean, this closest we had was Sweden in 2012 and 2015, which was 3 years apart. But in fact, I think Sweden is the only repeat winner this century. Fact check me on that one. But with that being said, Italy actually really has a shot at winning again this year. I don't know what it is about Italy, but they are doing the right thing with who they're sending. We are getting Mahmood, who participated in 2019 with his song Soldi, which I loved. This time he's collaborating with another singer named Blanco. These two together are chef's kiss. And this is a moody, atmospheric, it's contemporary pop, urban contemporary, that relates and speaks to the Italian youth. Even without understanding the lyrics, you can feel that. Brividi literally translates to shivers in English. I have dreamed of flying with you on a bike made of diamonds. You told me you changed. I don't see the light in your eyes anymore. What's your fear? A sea you can never touch the ground of. Even if sex isn't the way out from the bottom, come on, don't run away from here. Don't leave me this way. Naked and shivering. Sometimes I don't know how to express myself, and I would love you, but I always get it wrong. And I would steal you for a sky full of pearls, and I would pay to get away. I would even accept a lie, and I would love you, but I always get it wrong, and it gives me the shivers. Their vocals complement each other so wonderfully. They have these beautiful tones in their voice that just convey the emotion, particularly Mahmood. I prefer his part of the song a little bit more, but he's still overarching around everything here. Their harmonizations, their vocals tied together. I think we're going to get really great, edgy, modern, contemporary styling on them, which I think is going to make them look really sexy. But obviously, they're not needing to emphasize that too much because they're just naturally sexy in the way they're going to be portraying themselves. I'm sure they're just going to have that it factor, that rock star. Talk about rock star factor that Malik Harris, I mean, with his songs, not going to get. The orchestration that's very kind of jazzy underneath all of the piano and the synthetic production. It's really well composed. And so I feel like it's fitting for a movie. There's like cinematic quality to it. It would fit very well as like the end credits for a film. And as much as it has classical leanings, it feels very modern. So I think it's perfect for the generational sort of straddling that it needs to do to appeal to the young and to the old. And of course to the non-Italian speaking people, because they're still going to love his vocals. They're not going to understand it, but they're going to love the emotion anyway. They're going to soak it up. So they're going to do well. They're going to do well. They're going to be in the top 5. It's almost a guarantee. But, I don't know. I understand a country could win twice in a row, but I kind of want to see variation in where countries host. It's like Italy, you've had your turn. We'll give you second place, but not first this time around, okay? Even though personally, I actually like this song more than Zitti Ibioni. This is just more my style. But Italy, you are doing something right. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. None of the other big five countries are coming close. However, France is my final pick, my number one out of this bunch. And like I said, France and Italy, it's like neck and neck for me. This is sort of a late upset for me right before I filmed this video that I decided that France's Italy is my favorite. France is really, really pushing the envelope here. France is doing exactly what I come to Eurovision for this year with their song Foulin, a song by Alvin, and the featured artist is Ahez. The song in English is called Sparkle. Let's go. In the darkness of the woods germinates the night. The stars appear in the restless rustle. A feminine shadow twirls in the light of a torch. By making wild beasts, I dance. I steal the fire from their gaze full of desire and turn it in a song to sing in unison. She dances with the devil, so what? I dance with the devil, so what? Blaze and mud, party and mud. The forest vibrates in contact with a dancing spark. Its enchanting magic rises until the tall trees. These lyric translations are not exact, okay? I'm just reading this off of a lyric translate website, so I'm getting the gist. But you might wonder, this isn't French. What language is this? This is in one of the old languages of the region called Breton. It is a Brittonic language from the Celtic family of languages, so it's related to Welsh and Irish. And it's spoken in Brittany, which is in France, a region of France. Fantastic that it is being highlighted on the Eurovision stage. And it is the only Celtic language still in use on the European mainland, because the Celts were all over the place. They were in Portugal, they were in a lot of places in France, and the Iberian Peninsula, and even further. And then they, their languages and customs all sort of like last gasped in the British Isles, but there still was a little bit of a holdout with the Breton language. And this is not the first time that France has sung a song in Breton. The first time was in 1996, but it is similar to Cornish. Cornish is this very old, not very well spoken language in the south west of England. So with all that being said, let's talk about the song itself, okay? I'm guessing Alvan is the lead vocalist here, and Ahez are the three women who come in with the bird-like trills that kind of reminiscent of Eastern European folk dances. This sort of chirping trill that I don't know how else to better describe. This song is chaotic. This song is frenetic. This song is a creature of its own. It feels like it was concocted in a cauldron of electronic dance music, because it is an absolute EDM, dance around a bonfire like a crazy person kind of song, okay? I don't know how else to describe it. It is very hardcore in that way. It is very edgy, but it is also mystical. There is this entrancing kind of ancient feeling with the modern instrumentation mixed with this enchanting kind of ritualistic screaming, singing, and chanting style of the vocal delivery. It's a real package here, and I'm like absolutely floored by it. What I have seen some critiques be about for this song is that the national final performance, it was almost as though the staging setup and the camera didn't know where to go. And the way that the women are integrated into the performance versus the guy with the staging setup, there was a disconnect. They didn't feel like they were working together, and they were coming in and out of focus. And obviously the song upon first listen is a little bit inaccessible. Like, there is this dance groove that kind of sticks in your mind, but the rest of it is just very abstract. It's got the Goa A energy from Ukraine last year, and it accelerates in that way, that rapid East ethnic way. But I do think some people think it's just noise, and that is going to be its biggest hurdle, is that if the camera work and the styling and the way that they are placed on stage do not feel symbiotic, that do not feel so tightly woven together, it is going to be a bit of a mess. And I'm worried that these parts and pieces aren't going to all come together. This guy can really just let go and move and dance, but the women need to have some sort of connection to him there. Instead of just standing on the side and then coming out forward to give a couple vocal lines and make those trilly sounds, and then, it doesn't work for Eurovision in the way I think it could. And so I'm hoping that that is thought through a little bit more. I almost don't know if I would change the styling of them a little bit as well, because they're dressed in somewhat modern clothing, and I would prefer to see something a little bit more esoteric, considering this song is very esoteric in nature. I mean, reading through the lyrics, it's like primal, it's kind of like erotic, it's fairy tales, it's dancing behind a fire and kind of ritualistic and pagan. So I want something that celebrates that a little bit. I mean, I don't know if they need to go too costumey, but definitely, I mean, I don't know. I'm really interested to see how this is pulled off. But I'm always here for the oddball entries. I'm always here for things, and this is oddball, but it's also very like clean and precise. Doesn't feel like they've thrown too much production at it. I think listening to the studio cut, I'm like even more mesmerized just by like absorbing all of the production, because I do think it's a very well produced song. It isn't for everyone, and I appreciate that. But for what it is, I'm here for it, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. But yeah, it's probably not going to do as well as Italy, because Italy is just a little more accessible. But maybe even Spain might overtake them as well. But all in all, everyone is bringing something, at least something I think that's worthwhile, except for Germany. Germany just dropped the ball. Why are you even participating anymore? You just don't seem to care. I think most people are in agreement there. So that's unfortunate. But those are my thoughts on the big 5 entries. Let me know what yours are. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will make a video about Eurovision after, of course, the contest has wrapped up, so sharing all my thoughts on it. I also do want to just point this out for anyone who might be aware. There is currently an American song contest that has just premiered in the States a few weeks ago, hosted by Kelly Clarkson and Snoop Dogg. And this is kind of monumental because there's only ever been one song contest that has that name attached to it. And several of the people involved in Eurovision are involved behind the creation of the American Song Contest. So there is a familial link there. There's a lot to talk about with the idea of an American Song Contest in general, but I also might make a video about some of the entries for competing. So we'll see. It's tough because it's running at the same time as Eurovision and just a little before, and there's a lot of other things. So we'll see if I end up getting that video out, but what I'll probably end up doing if I do cover it is just cover the qualifiers, because right now we're going through the qualifying rounds, and it's a long process. It's not like Eurovision where there's every song going right into the semis. This time there's competitions before the semis. So to narrow that list of songs, because otherwise it'd be 56, that's a lot of songs. I can't talk about 56 songs in one video, or even 2. So what I would do is just talk about the qualifying songs. There'll be 22 songs in the semifinals. So once we get to that stage, I might make a video ranking those songs and sharing my thoughts, because I'm interested in this contest. But so far, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. So, I want it to do well, but, it's hard to replicate Eurovision in the American climate, especially when we have so many other talent shows like The Voice, American Idol, America's Got Talent. It just feels like we don't need this right now. But that's a whole other story. So I just wanted to tag that on at the end of this video in case anyone was wondering what I thought about the American Song Contest. Yes, I know it is happening, and I've been watching a little bit of it. Not a lot. I'm going to have to familiarize myself more when they get all the qualifiers, because I'm more interested in the semis and the final. I think that'll be a little more interesting to watch. The qualifying rounds are a bit of a slog because there's just a lot of songs and a lot of them are pretty bad. So we'll go through that. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in my next video. If you want to stick around, please give this a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you all in my next one. Peace, love, and light. Bye.